In this section, we'll look at the Great Society and the remaining portion of Lyndon Johnson's term from 1966 to 1968. Certainly, more legislation followed, but the pace slowed dramatically. The off-year congressional elections, for one, cost the Democrats 48 House seats and 4 Senate seats in 1966. The Democrats still had a majority, but overall Congress was more conservative. Of course, the party in power always loses seats in an off-year congressional election, and the Democrats had such an overwhelming majority from 1964 that a loss was expected. Another reason the Great Society slowed and eventually petered out was the Vietnam War was increasing, which is of course covered in another lecture. But by 1966-67, the funds for Vietnam War were growing so much there was not enough left over for the Great Society. Funds were being switched from domestic programs to foreign policy, which spelled the demise of really much of Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. There was still some significant legislation, especially early on, say in 1966. First, there was the Demonstration Cities and Metropolitan Area Redevelopment Act, which is quite a mouthful. The act sought to encourage some clearance and rehabilitation in some 60 to 70 model cities, and it do so by covering up 80% of the cost of planning and construction and financing metropolitan area planning and providing land development mortgage insurance. The law also made supplementary grants to local governments who were seeking to improve transportation systems or water systems or their medical facilities. A number of towns, I should note, took this money, and what they ended up doing was demolishing a lot of the Victorian age homes that have since been gentrified in other cities. The Motor Vehicles Safety Act of 1966 required the federal government to establish federal motor vehicle safety standards and project them to the public by 1967. And in 1967, they came out with the 20 different requirements, including seat belts and requiring safety glass on car windows and things like dual brake system and padded dashboards. They had to continue to update these standards, and some of the updates included uniform tire manufacturing, so they'd be make sure everybody has the proper inflation on their tires. The Truth in Packaging Act of 1966 broadened federal controls over labeling, packaging of food, drugs, cosmetics, and household supplies. You tend to think back to the first legislation during the progressive period under Teddy Roosevelt in this area. But it required things like you have to identify the identity of the product, and you have to put the name in place of the business of the manufacturer, packer, or distributor, and also you had to list its contents, and the law went into effect early in 1967. With so much money going into transportation, including the expansion of the interstate system, Congress created at Lyndon Johnson's suggestion the Department of Transportation, sought to coordinate all the federal programs dealing with the highway or railway transportation, also the air transportation as well that was growing. I should add that in the between 66 and 68, Congress expanded and increased Social Security benefits. They raised the minimum wage yet again, and they also increased the food stamp program, which had been first established on a permanent basis in 1964. You may recall that a temporary program had been instituted during the New Deal. There was also tremendous increases in the money available for mass transit, most notably light rail that allowed subway systems to go around the United States. I should note that it was the beginning of the construction of the Washington, D.C. subway system. Finally, there were a lot of environmental legislation passed in Lyndon Johnson's presidency, but that will be covered in a different section. This concludes the section on the Great Society from 1966 to 1968.